We're going to look at acrylic painting techniques today. So make sure you've got your page laid out with your space here, which is where you're going to show off your experiments. You've got 2, 4, 6 little squares ready to do your experiments in. You've got a title at the top saying acrylic painting techniques done with your acrylic paint marker, and you've got your diagram at the side of our round brush with all the different parts of the paintbrush labelled. Now coming back to paintbrushes, this is my acrylic painting set here, which you can see there's loads and loads of different sizes and shapes paintbrushes, which we're going to look at in different videos. Today we're going to look at how to use the round brush, and you can see there's a few different sizes of round brushes here. So I'm just going to get the round brushes out of the set ready to use for today. Now the round brush is called the round brush because of the nature of the way that the bristles are made at the top here of the paintbrush. And as you can see on the diagram, the top we would call the tip or the toe, and the way that this here is rounded for its name is called the belly. That's where it gets its name from, the round brush, because of the nature of the bristles. Now there's all different sizes of bristles here, and they're all round brushes, apart from that ultra thin one here, which is going to allow us to get really, really, really detailed lines and thin lines, and that's called a reed brush, because it looks like the reeds that you would see growing at the side of lakes, and that's where that gets its name from, a nice willowy reed-like bristles to get really fine details. Now coming back to our little techniques area, we're going to look at 6 different techniques that we can use with our round brushes, using mostly the tip and the toe and the belly and our different pressures of how we would put our paint. Now make sure that you've laid out the paints that you're using, because you might need to go back to them. And on your mixing palette, you've laid it out with your blending medium, which is your white paint, which is why we need lots and lots of white paint. You've got your black, either a purple or a dark blue, ready to get some tones. And then you've got a different range of tones of the colour that you've chosen to use today. So I've got blue, but I've got a different tone of blue out so I can show my different techniques. So our first little exercise is going to be looking at pressure and how we use the tip of our brush. And this might be good to use if we're looking at, say, fur on animals. It might be detail that we look on wings or petals of flowers. It might be really fine detail like we've got on the veins of that painting here. Look at the really, really fine little lines that are going into that skeleton and onto those little roses there as little details. So the first little square we're going to do is about light pressure. So you're going to go back over to your mixing palette and you're going to very, very carefully pick up some paint. So you're going to pick up some paint just on the tip or the toe of your brush. You're going to come back to your example little square here, and you're going to very lightly put your lines down. So really, really, see, that was a little bit heavy, light pressure. If you start to run out of paint, go and pick some more up, just using the toe or the tip of your brush. And the pressure that you're using is really light. Now you might want to experiment a bit with some lighter colours. So to mix your colour, don't just grab the white and do it into here. Get a little bit, move it to the side, move that on top of here, so that you're not wasting the paint, because you might not get the colour that you want. And then again, if you've got lots of paint that's on the tip there, it's like a bud, if you will, like a big blob of paint, just put it onto your paper to make it thinner, and then come back over here, and you're going as thin as you can. Now this is a really nice technique for if you wanting like little thin branches on trees as well, or you're drawing some trees into the background, and then come back pick up some paint, different colour, and just practice using the tip or the toe of your brush. As you can see, the motion of my paintbrush, I'm starting off here and I'm going back. So I'm putting that down and I'm going back, sort of flicking with my wrist as well. Okay, that's a little bit thick. So as you can see on there, there's a big blob of paint. So I'm going to come back to the mixing palette, turn my brush around like that. So I've got the tip of my brush really sharp. And I'm coming back and I'm doing some really thin lines. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're coming out of the box. So that's our first technique. The next one is going to be heavy pressure. So you're going to pick up a little bit more paint on your brush, a bit more paint, and you're going to come back over here and you're going to use the belly of your brush. So you're going to use that really thick. So you're going to place that down and go really quite thick with the paint. You might want to use different colours. This is quite nice if you're looking at doing petals. If you pick up a bit of colour, so say for instance, if you get a lot of white on your brush and then pick up a bit of colour there, you can get quite a nice contrast with your belly and your lines that you're using. So this is with our heavy pressure paint, and that's just using the belly of our brush. You can pick up some bits there and add in as well, so you can start to even colour mix and blend with some of the colours, particularly the white, and we're using our pressure and we're pressing on nice and hard. Now, a really good other technique is kind of using your pressure there but using your brush on its side, and that's called stippling. And Monet would paint quite a lot of his lilies and his landscapes using that technique. And that particular painting here that I'm showing you has used the stippling really beautifully, layering up all different tones of the colours. So we're going to go back, we're going to pick up some of our paint, and we're going to use our round brush. We're going to use the side of it, and we're going to just do this. So we're going to use the belly, and we're going to pick up lots of different colours from our mixing palettes. So it might be our whites, it might be our purples, and we're going to just do that little technique here called little stippling with our round brush, using the belly and the tip as well. So you can also use the little toe part of the brush, the tip, maybe mixing in a bit of the black there, a little bit more of the whites and all the different tones of blues. So you're really showing off that technique, and you're using kind of the side of your brush, the belly of your brush, but using the brush on its side. And this gives quite a nice effect for water, maybe even sky as well. And you could start to do the water with adding some sort of ripples into that as well. So that's really nice to do. The next one, we're just going to be very careful, and we're going to put one layer on. So we're going to get our brush and we're going to use it like this here, and we're just going to use one colour, and we're not blending, we're not doing anything else. We're just using the motion of our brush really, really carefully, because practicing our brush motion. We're trying not to go out of the lines. Getting that nice and even. So this is good for backgrounds. It's good for using underneath the starting points and then painting on top. So once this is laid down, you could use the stippling technique over the top of here to show texture of water, and you can blend over the top of this once you've got a nice block colour, and experiment with your different techniques on top of it. So we're just staying there very carefully with just our one colour, and we're trying really hard not to go out of the lines. The next one we're going to look at is blending. Now this is really good for backgrounds, and you're going to choose one colour. So again, I'm going to choose the I'm going to go for the purple, and I'm going to start with my purple at the top, and I'm going to use a couple of colours to blend. So I'm going to get a nice layer of purple to begin with, and then I'm going to use my blending colour, my white, and I'm going to start to pick up some of the colour here, and I'm going to use what I've got at the top here. So try and use the paint that you've already got on the page, and I'm going to blend. And the pressure of my paintbrush is I am using the belly part to get a nice blended. If it starts to go like a little bit fuzzy like that is there, it means you've not got enough paint on your brush. So we're going to add a little bit more white to get quite a nice effect. I think I must have had some blue on my brush there. So I've got quite a nice gradient of colours coming from our darker and going to our purples and coming down nicely into a really light colour there. Now the next little one's quite nice for if you are, say for example, looking at the centre of flowers and trying to get that texture, or like on this painting here, we've got a really nice little dappled effect with our tip and toe of our paintbrush. Another really nice little detailed bit here using the little dappling technique, and again another nice little blended bit with some dappling in to that detail there. Now for this, it's really nice for pollen, for flowers as well. This is called sort of like a dappling, so just using your brush, so your brush is standing on the end and you're actually using the very tip of your brush and you're just dappling like this. So you're putting down your marks and it's going down into giving like a texture, which is really quite nice, giving like a little dappling. Again, you could use this in backgrounds. It's quite nice to use for the centre of flowers, for details on the butterfly's wings like we looked at a moment ago, and also maybe for clouds or textures on grass. There's also, you could use a little earbud as well for that technique, but as we're looking at just using our brushes today, this is quite a nice little technique that you can use just with the tip of your brush. Now you might want to show a little bit of darker dappling in some areas, so you're going from light to a dark bit, just showing that technique off, and that's called your dappling. Now what we're going to do next, this is a completely different video, is we're going to put all those techniques into a landscape, into a little picture like this one here, but that's the next video.